St. Charles Patriot Radio with Missouri State Representative Richard West and former Francis Howell School Board member Jane Puszkar.
Thank you for tuning in to St. Charles Patriot Radio. I'm your host, Richard West, and of course we have Jane Puszkar here, but we have a special guest with the elections coming up this week. We have a pretty contention in a race for our county collector. Yes. And we're going to have both of our candidates here today. First up, we have Miss Erica Bridges. Erica currently works for our assessor's office under Travis Welge. So she's already an employee of St. Charles County and works in the taxation division, although it's the assessment part of it. And she's running for our county collector. Erica, tell us a little bit about yourself and, what you're going to do for the citizens of St. Charles County.
Yes. Thank you so much to both you, Richard, and to Jane for having me on today. I really appreciate that. My name is Erica Bridges, and so I have worked for the county assessor's office for about the past 8 years. I had the privilege of working under former county assessor Scott Shipman first, and he was a great example of public leadership and public service. So I'm so glad that he was a mentor to me for so long. And now, of course, under Travis Welge. And prior to that, I worked for Bob Schnurr in our finance department for a couple of years as well. So I've been with the county for almost a decade, and my experience in the assessor's office has given me a front row seat to kind of see some of the changes that I could implement into the collector of revenue's office. But I grew up here in St. Charles County. This is my home. I'm from Lake St. Louis originally, so born and raised there, and attended Christian High School and later graduated from Winsville Holt. I'm proud to
Wentzville, huh?
Yes, I know. We have a Francis Howell person over here, but my dad worked for Francis Howell most of my life, so I have ties there too. Okay. But born and raised here, so I love St. Charles County, and graduated from with my Master of Business Administration from Florida State University, and so I have some good experience, like I said, that I think I can bring to the Collector of Revenue's office.
Great. Sounds like you have a little bit of history there, so
yes,
that's a good thing. Jane, did you have some questions?
So I was going through your website for your campaign and made some questions from that. One of them was, you said you're a recent graduate of Vision St. Charles County Leadership.
Yes.
What is that, and how do you qualify for something like that?
Yeah. So it's a great program. If you haven't had a chance to look into it, I highly recommend anyone look into it. But essentially, it's an application process. And so they take people from all different industries throughout the county that work in the county, and they're, rising leaders throughout the county. So we had people from healthcare professionals, realtors, people in county government, firefighters, any kind of industry, which is the neat thing about this program. A lot of leadership programs, you kind of only get to work with the people that you already kind of are in the same industry. And so this really ties people from all different walks of life. And basically each month you go around and learn more about the county and how those different industries impact the county. So local government, economic development, first responders. So it gives you just a great insight into how the county runs.
How long is the program? How long does it take?
It's a 9-month program.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Full time?
No. So we meet once a month.
Okay.
But during that, as a class, the class is about 30 people. But outside of your class meetings, you also work on a project with other local nonprofits. So I had the chance to work with the community council, and we got an ambassador program kind of off the ground with Samara Mitchell over there. So that was great.
So I'm aware of the program. It's a great program for folks in the St. Charles County area that want to, and do they accept applications from outside the county as well?
They do, but they I believe if you work in the county, sure. But I do think we had a couple people from St. Louis County.
But I know it because they come in front of us. They come to and spend a day at the state capitol, and it's a great experience. All 6 years I've been there, and I love addressing the classes they come through because there's always great questions, and it's pretty much a nonpartisan group as well.
Oh yeah. I
mean, which is to me is an important thing because I have my values. I stick to my values, but I know the people have theirs, and sometimes it's good to break that ice in a situation like that and have discussions.
Oh yeah, definitely. We had a couple of people from my class that ran for school board, this last class, and there's just so many people that I got to make connections with that I feel like I otherwise wouldn't have met. So going through Vision was just such a great experience for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
I noted that one of your campaign points was to strengthen collaboration with other county departments and leadership to provide more efficient, coordinated service. What are those other departments, and why is that collaboration so important?
Yes. So the number one department I would say would be bringing my experience from the assessor's office to work better with the collector's office. Because our departments work so closely together, I know that in the future, we're both going to need new software. And so being able to bring my experience from the assessor's office, working alongside Travis Welge, the current county assessor, I know we could implement some technology that would work better together so we can kind of streamline some of those processes when people come in and need assistance from both of our departments. And then on an executive level too, all the way up, I feel like I have good relationships with people on the county council and in the executive office. And I feel that, I've been able to strengthen those. And moving forward, I would be able to take their input and, be able to strengthen those bonds a little bit where we can provide more coordinated service for people.
Some of the questions I have are going to deal more with on a state level, because state and county the people of St. Charles County elect local, county, and state officials, of course. And I believe that those three should be working in unison for the people of St. Charles County. One of my concerns is that we are working, that these county offices are working with the state officials. A big thing right now is taxation, how we're being taxed, what we're being taxed for. And I think there's a lot of push to try to lower taxes, although I don't know that lowering taxes is going to happen, but we can sure spend the taxes that we have a little bit better.
Sure.
So I've reached out in the past to our county offices and requested information, and it's been a bit of a challenge to get that information. What would you do working with not only the locals, but with the state level and I think you touched on your other county people in that last statement you made. What would be your design to try to work together for the people of St. Charles County to make their government a little bit more accountable for the money they spend?
Sure. Yeah. So I think, like you mentioned, I know that it's sometimes difficult for the legislators to get some information. To me, if we have that data available and you're requesting because you want to help your constituents, I want to be able to turn that over to you and say, this is information that we have. If it's public record, I want to be able to share that with you and communicate well. And then also on a state level, I know that the current, county assessor, Travis Welge, has already been working with a committee that works with the Missouri Assessor Association, and they're working alongside the Collector Association as well to kind of tackle giving insight to the legislators about tax reform.
Yeah. I mean, it's a huge bubble that's out there on everybody's mind right now, and especially with 4 and 5 on the ballot this time. Taxation has been a hotbed for the last 4 or 5 years, and my goal is, I think we can lower taxation by shrinking government and not paying government as much money as we do. You probably know my stance on the personal property tax. If we would just eliminate the personal property tax and put it onto real property, we would probably save St. Charles County government at minimum to $2 million a year. Now, that is from talking to our current assessor and our current collector. The problem is I'm not getting all the information I need to make those hard numbers. Those are numbers, are, like I said, my assessor has told me how much he spends on the assessment of personal property tax. So I think this is important that going forward, I'm not looking to do away with jobs. I'm just trying to, the jobs that we do more efficiently and better answer to the people of St. Charles County.
Yeah, I can definitely understand that. And I know that tax reform is at the forefront of many people's minds, right now. And I think my role as the collector of revenue would be to give insight so that whenever we are looking at tax reform, I can tell you from my standpoint, how does that affect my office and how can I work with you to make sure that we're all still serving the people well? Because I know the concern is if we get rid of this tax, then what else is being taxed, right? And so we do have to answer that question for our constituents. And so my job, I think, would be to give insight as to how those changes would then impact the taxpayers, and then being willing to work with other elected officials to make sure that we implement any changes well. And that's just something that I know that I could do is, whatever changes, we saw Prop RT on the ballot. Although it didn't pass, I do think that you need someone like me in office who would be able to implement some changes like that well, because we saw how the senior tax relief program was implemented needed. And I just know moving forward that I'd be able to implement new technology and kind of make those processes smoother for our residents.
I know Richard doesn't necessarily go along with this because he just mentioned he's not looking for cuts in people. But as a people manager and being involved in corporations for most of my life, what would you be willing to look at, or how would you look at maybe cutting some positions? I mean, if you're taking away a part of a person's job and they have to fill that time with something else, and if you can't fill it with something else, does it make sense to let that person go?
Yeah, and I think that's it for me. That what I've experienced in my role is we kind of look at attrition, right? So, and as people retire, we have made those changes in the assessor's office. We have, as people have moved on and retired, we've moved some of their job duties. Maybe we have some more technology that can do a part of their job that we can look at incorporating. And now one person can handle kind of what used to be two previous roles. With people filing online more for their personal property, we have less people that we need to open mail. So how do we then take either those roles and add them under different positions, or, we've made cuts there as time goes forward and we're incorporating more technology. But, I don't, like you mentioned, I don't want to just wipe out a whole department overnight either. So,
right. And I think that's a great answer is the attrition, of a department will kind of pull back on that. And as we have software, and I know that the county is constantly evaluating, working on new software as that comes available. Of course, that does, and like you said, you used to have to hand count and hand figure and do all this. And now those things are kind of changing. So yeah, I think government is going to become a little bit more efficient, especially in St. Charles County. I think our populace in St. Charles County does a great job. Because I think we in St. Charles County are fairly happy with our county. Yeah. We're always looking for ways to do better, of course. And we're looking for ways to keep our taxation from increasing. And that's a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I think it only makes sense that government should possibly lose some positions too, because a lot of corporations are losing people.
So my last question that I'm going to have for you, and then I'll let you finish out with a little information about yourself. But how do you currently get along with the other county employees? You touched on it a little bit, but I mean, what's your relationship? Do you have a really good working relationship with folks?
Yeah, I do believe that I do. I have the privilege. I've been endorsed by all three leading candidates for county executive. And so that means a lot to me that Jason Law-Bitleigel and Mr. Steve Ellman, who is the current incumbent, would all endorse me. And I think that says something to the relationship that I have with other leaders throughout the county. And then as far as, working with other elected officials, Travis Welge, the current county assessor, has also endorsed me and supported me throughout my campaign, and Scott Shipman prior to his passing as well. So I do feel that I would not have received those endorsements if I didn't have good working relationships with all of those people. And so I appreciate their support. Okay.
Well, good. Before we close out, why don't you just give the folks a way where they can find out more information about you and anything you want to say about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me at ericabridges.com, and I'm also on Facebook, Erica Bridges for St. Charles County Collector of Revenue. You can also reach out if you have any questions. And, my main goals for this are to modernize the collector's office and better serve the taxpayers. So I really look forward to the opportunity to serve the residents of St. Charles County in this role. So don't forget to get out and vote on August 4th.
Well, everybody, we have with us today Miss Erica Bridges, a fresh new face running for St. Charles County Collector's Office. I want to say it's been nice. I've gotten to know you this year, and I think you've run a really good, fair, and clean campaign, which is important to me. There's a lot of dirt out there right now. So folks, stay with us, because up next, we are going to have our current county collector, Michelle McBride. She'll be on with us here in the next segment, and we'll see you in a few.
St. Charles Patriot Radio with Missouri State Representative Richard West and former Francis Howell School Board member Jay Puszkar.
Thanks for coming back to our show, St. Charles Patriot Radio. I'm your host, Richard West. I have Jane Puszkar with me. And as promised, we have our St. Charles County current collector of revenue, Michelle McBride. Michelle, welcome to our show. Thank you for coming in today. It was short notice, and I really do appreciate it.
Well, I thank you for the invitation, Richard.
You bet. You bet. So we're just going to open the show with, tell us who you are, a little bit about your history with St. Charles County, and then kind of go into your work history with St. Charles County.
I'm Michelle McBride, your current St. Charles County Collector of Revenue, and I started working in the collector's office in 2000. At that time, I came in as a fiscal manager. And in 2007, 2006, I was elected. 2007, I took office.
Okay.
And some of the most impactful things I think I've done to help the citizens during that time is I instituted partial and advance payments. Partial payments to help people who've gotten behind catch up and reduce the amount of statutory late payment penalties that are due that we are required by law to collect. Advance payments for those people who've maybe paid off a mortgage and don't want to save up or, want to pay it ahead of that big Christmas shopping bills coming in. So I think that's helped many people. And then another thing is I implemented or instituted e-alerts, which means you can sign up to get a text message or an email or both. And as soon as the bills hit the internet, it gives you a direct link. You can just click it, pay it, be done. No worries there. And the third thing that really most recently, I implemented the senior tax relief program. And not all counties have that. This was something brand new. The legislature said, counties, you can create a program. St. Charles County got on board. Our county council created a program and they said, collector, you implement this. So we implemented it. We created it from the ground up. And on 2025 tax bills, we had over 30,000 people save over $5 million. So that's some real money.
Yeah.
And then most recently on July 13th, I advocated for and went to the county council to change the law requiring renewal in St. Charles County. So now when seniors in St. Charles qualify, that's it. Unless you move, you're done and you're in the program from there on.
Wow, that's nice. Because being a senior and having to file every year, it does it's not onerous by any means, but it's something you just rather not have to do. But let me go back to the program that you implemented that you said that people that get behind can pay, I guess, in at different times to catch up?
Yeah. So the partial and advance payments is very simple. We didn't want to lock anybody into, you have to pay this amount on this date, because if something comes up, then you've got no flexibility. So we made the law very simple. You can pay any amount as at least $20 at any time, and it goes against your existing bill. That's a partial payment, or against your future bill. So we'll have some people who get a big income tax return and they know they're not the best at keeping it in the bank. They'll hand it to us and we'll put it in escrow for them. And then when the tax bills come out, we apply it. You get a bill that shows here's what your bill would be. Here's what you've already paid. Here's the balance due or that you've overpaid it. And then you can either decide to leave it roll to the next year or you can have a check cut for a refund of that.
For the
That's
time.
pretty good. I mean, it's giving options to your constituency. And I think as times change, to me, it's an accounting nightmare, but, I hate numbers to begin with. But I think it's wise, especially as we move forward with the technology that's available to us. And now we have AI to even think about, and that's scary.
Mhm.
But I think as we move forward with government, I think options that we give to our constituents is probably a really good thing. So I commend you on that.
Yeah, I'd like to go back to the paying in partial payments. When somebody falls behind, is there an interest charge that's attached to that or not?
So state law is what sets the interest, the late payment interest and penalty. So what we do when someone makes a partial payment is we impute the amount that pays base tax and the amount of penalty or interest due at that time for that amount of tax. So it reduces the overall amount of late payment penalty and interest that's required for the collector to get.
That's just hard because when you
Yes.
fall behind on something and you want to catch up and pay it, then you have to pay
So
even
I want
more.
to duck in here.
Okay.
Do we pay interest for people that prepay?
We do not pay interest for people that prepay because current law, even on tax sale surplus money, when somebody overbids and pays excess money, the law specifically says no interest shall be paid on that money that the county is holding. So
I'm going to put you on the spot here. You know what I'm going to ask? Would there be an opposition from your office currently if we said, hey, of course, we take and this is hard to do, of course, but if you've got the negatives and you've got the positives, do they offset? And if so, can we say, well, we're not going to pay interest, but we're not going to charge interest? If that was changed into state law. Now,
there's less advance payments than there are partial payments. And when it comes to tax dollars, the thing that I feel is important to remember is every penny is allocated before my office even sends out a bill. So when that money comes in, every penny has to go to those places listed on the bill who are expected to receive the revenue. So what I would tell people who don't want us to hold their advance payments, go open a Christmas club at a bank.
Same way with our income tax. I've said that for many years, which we're trying to deal with now. One of those issues that people are not even looking at is the advance money you pay into income tax. The government gets, they're going to say they don't, but they get interest on that.
Right.
And you can put that into a self-bearing account and get your own interest and then pay it at the end of the year. And that's all going to kind of, well, depending on how we come out with Amendment 5. But so, I guess my question, and I'm going to put you on the spot on this one, and I don't know is a fair answer, but if there was a bill to come forward that said, look, if this were in an interest bearing, so the same interest you're charging people for being negative, you would give that to people who are positive. Yes, there is an offset of more people are going to be behind than ahead, but could we negate that amount? And of course, that would come in legislation and everything. How would your office take a position on that?
I would take an educational position on that because the interest we collect currently on late payments doesn't go to us. It goes to every one of those political subdivisions listed on the bill. So then those would be the people who would have to agree, oh, we're going to pay interest to these people who are paying in advance, but they're not the ones getting that money. So it's sitting in an escrow account. We had, thousands of payments. So to sit and prorate an interest would be kind of an accounting nightmare. Could it be done? Yes. Is the staff time and it's not that the staff time isn't worth it. It's that I only have 15 full-time staff members and you subtract 3 for seniors tax relief and you subtract 3 who are managers, supervisors.
Oh, I get it.
We're down to 7 people.
And talking to one of the guys that thinks we should be shrinking government anyway. So I think we could probably come up with a formula in there.
When people protest their tax and they have a state tax commission appeal pending because they disagree with their valuation,
right,
they pay the tax in full. It sits in an escrow account. That escrow account earns interest. And if someone gets a refund, they do get interest on that refund.
Okay.
We're here talking with Michelle McBride, our current collector of revenue in St. Charles County. Michelle, I'm going to pivot here for a second and ask you a question, probably not a pleasant question. Last year at tax time, there were people that signed on to the website to try to pay their taxes through online, through the website, and it just didn't go that well. I've heard a lot of complaints about it, but what are your plans moving forward so that that doesn't happen again?
We got the final update to the senior tax relief software in April. And so right now, people who have senior tax relief on their real estate bills and perhaps haven't paid it at all or are making partial payments on it can see their bills online. So the software that was necessary was finally delivered in full in April. So it wasn't the way we wanted it to happen. Fortunately, the information systems director and I had a backup plan because actually they didn't deliver the software to create the bills in our collection system till mid-December. So we had saved all the necessary data so that we could have accurate bills created and sent out, which is what the law requires, by December 1st. So we did comply with the law. We didn't like the fact that the convenience of online payment wasn't there until near the end of December. However, what the law requires is that the bills are there and out accurately. So we made sure that happened so that all those public services who expect the bulk of their money to be paid with the December collections and who get paid to them by January 15th would still have the revenue they were expecting so they could provide those public services to everybody.
Yeah, it's real simple to stand up here and throw arrows at each other for one person or one party or one whatever to not follow through. But there's so many intricate pieces of that. And what you just stated there is a great example. You don't have the software, but the end user, which would be the locals, are relying on that money to pay for the services that they're providing for their citizens. And when they don't get that, they don't get the services. I mean, people aren't going to work for free. Now, maybe the employees in the city will, but there's other things that they pay for. So yeah, it's really important and hard to get all these things aligned perfectly, and they rarely ever do. But
yeah, when things don't go well, it's always an opportunity to learn how to do something better. That's the way that I look at it. And we got through it, and it's over with. Were there any repercussions for the software company? I mean, I don't know who was it. No. Okay, never mind.
Our attorneys wrote them letters.
Okay, okay.
When you've got 350,000 bills a year dependent on a software, how much do you want to ruffle their feathers before they just say, you know what?
Yeah.
We don't want to deal with you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
So you're kind of a no-win
Software
situation.
is very expensive and conversions are no fun for anyone.
Exactly. So
yeah, it was a very sticky situation.
I'd like to ask you, are there any other duties of the collector of revenues position that we haven't covered yet?
Well, there's a whole lot more we do besides just that annual bill and collection. Okay. We have an annual tax certificate sale, which we have to enforce the state's lien on real estate. So when property gets delinquent at least 2 years, we start working on that as soon as we wrap up December mail. And then the actual sale is held the fourth Monday in August, so August 24th. And in between there's all kinds of statutory requirements, things that we have to do by law. And we make every effort to get from the 2,500 people who are subject to it in January down to maybe 50, give or take, by August sale. Because the last thing I want to do is offer somebody's house up. Even if it's a vacant piece of ground, the last thing I want to do is have to offer some property for sale.
Right. And all those properties are published on your website or somewhere else?
They'll be published on the website around August 1st. We publish them in the St. Charles Business Journal. That's another requirement by law, all of that good stuff. We publish it 3 times, once a week, for 3 weeks in a row. And we're on the second publication this week already. So that's the St. Charles Business Journal, if anybody's looking for that list. One of the other things we do is when people protest their taxes, which I mentioned briefly before, we have to impound that money. And we have to hold it in a separate account. And we have to then release it when the State Tax Commission rules on it.
Before we get off the air here, would you like to tell people how they could find out more about you, where they could go to either support your campaign or get more information?
Well, you can follow me on Facebook, Michelle McBride for Collector of Revenue. McBrideforcollector.com is my website for campaigning. I would love your support. August 4th is a primary next Tuesday. In order to vote for me, you need to pull a Republican ballot. That is the deciding race for the St. Charles County Collector of Revenue. The primary is it.
Again, that's one of the biggest blessings we have in this country is the opportunity to voice our vote at the ballot box. So please, everybody, do not forget, have no excuses not to get out and vote, whatever your vote is.
August 4th. So up next, we're going to have Mrs. Debbie McFarland, and we're going to shoot out some interesting predictions for next Tuesday.
Yes, this
have a
will
little
be fun. Yeah.
So, Michelle, thank you for coming in and spending time on our show today. Good luck to you. And this is the experience in our current collector's office. So get out and vote on August 4th.
Yeah.
Thank you.
St. Charles Patriot Radio with Missouri State Representative Richard West and former Francis Howell School Board member Jay Puszkar.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to St. Charles Patriot Radio, and welcome on this wonderful Sunday. In this segment, we're going to have a little bit of fun. It's myself, Jane Puszkar, Richard West, and Debbie McFarland. And what we're going to do, you probably haven't heard done very much before. We're going to talk about some races that are going on in St. Charles County and give our predictions, whether you like them or not. They're just our predictions. Right. And my opinions are not necessarily those that are endorsed by this radio station. Well,
and my prediction may not be who I'm voting for.
Oh, there you go.
So let's think about that too.
Okay. All right.
But before we do that, let's introduce Debbie, because
Debbie
is part of our St. Charles County Central Committee. Debbie, tell us real quick about you.
I've been on Central Committee for 8 years. I've completed 8 years. I do a lot of event planning. I'm a treasurer for a couple of our popular people in St. Charles County. I'm just the Lord's servant. I just try to serve wherever I'm needed, and I don't look for a fight, but I won't stand down.
You don't stand down for a fight. No, we know that. And I enjoy serving with you on the Central Committee. So I'm glad you came in today. So let's just hop into it. Let's start talking about the amendments real quick.
Okay.
Amendment 1 is pretty simple and straightforward. Conservation Department is asking to continue their 0.1% sales tax to fund everything for the Conservation Department. They take nothing out of general revenue. The good part is they take nothing out of general revenue. The bad part is their money comes what we call stands appropriated, which means they do not have to go through the legislature. Their money is not controlled by the legislature. However, we have a little bit of pressure we can put on them, but we cannot tell them how to spend their money. So good, bad, and indifferent. Jane, Anything on that?
You want my prediction?
Well,
so soon?
Do you want to say anything about it?
No, I think you covered what it is. Really,
what's your prediction on this?
I think I know the temperament of the voters, and it's a no.
Oh.
So I was a no, but I have a friend who's a farmer, and they rely on this money. A small farmer, small business farmer, and they rely on that money for soil conservation. Is my understanding. So I was a no because I'm like, cut taxes where we can. But I think because I know this farmer, I think I may vote for it.
Okay. So,
I don't know that it will win.
My prediction is it will pass, and I'll tell you why. Because it's something that's already there that 0.1% won't make any difference at the sales tax level. But what it does is it funds our whole conservation department. So if you take that away, guess what? Now out of general revenue, we have to pull that money to fund them. So my prediction is, I've talked to a lot of people. They really like our state parks. They really like what our conservation department does, even though they're not perfect. I will predict a yes, and I'm going to even throw it's going to pass by 70-30.
Question. Do you know if the Corps of Engineers is paid through that?
I don't believe they are. That's
like Table Rock Lake.
Yeah, well, if it has to do with conservation, yes. So if now the Corps of Engineers is a different entity, but anything that would have to do with the state park, that would all that money would come.
Just a reminder, we're going to have to start moving a little bit more fast.
I know.
All right.
So let's go on to 2.
Okay.
Amendment 2. Jane, you want to explain what it is?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Amendment 2 is basically, this is on the assessor side of things. And we have 4 counties, I believe, that the assessors are not elected. They're appointed by their county governments. Right. And the rest of the state is elected. We're going to push all of those
Franklin
and make
County.
Our whole state be an elected assessor state.
Isn't it Franklin County that's the only one?
Well, I don't know about Franklin County, but I do know the big one was out in Jackson County, across the other side of the state. Okay. And there was a big mess up. And so they've asked, and we've just said, we'll just do this all together. I predict, I'll do my prediction first this time. I predict that this will pass probably 60-40.
I predict a yes.
I predict a yes.
Okay,
cool.
We've got a unanimous vote on that one.
Okay, that was 2.
Now to the big ones here. We've got Amendment 4. I'm going to keep it short, but really this is just protecting our state's constitution. Yes. We do not want to take away the voice of the people. We do not want to take away the vote of the people. They can still vote to change our laws, our revised statutes, however they see fit. And that's just the wording of the bill. I'm not putting my 2 cents in there. My prediction on this, it's going to be really close. I'm going to say 52 yes, 48 no.
Okay. I just want to remind everybody, our predictions are not necessarily the way that we're going to vote. My prediction is it's no.
With the Lord's help, I think it's going to pass because I think it's critical for the state of Missouri. And sometimes we have to appeal to heaven on these things.
Yep.
This is the most important amendment on our ballot this year.
Yes.
Because without this, we don't.
The whole year.
We don't have a chance.
3's coming up. It's even more important.
Yes.
Okay. Now on to 5. This is a little bit more contentious because it's so ambiguous. But the problem is our money and our previous guests would acknowledge this. Our monies from year to year change. So it's really hard to give the people a definitive number on this is what we're going to do when if the western half of our state catches on fire and we don't collect a sales tax from that part of the state because of the fire, it would way affect how this program. And what we're asking is basically, let's just go into, we're removing the state income tax by a sales tax. And what we're going to do is broadening the base of the sales tax.
Right.
So I'm just going to keep it short because we don't have too much time. And this is really, I think everybody's been beat to death on this. My prediction on this is, wow.
Make it, take a stand.
Why don't you go first this time?
Okay, my prediction is no. There you have it.
Debbie?
I predict that it's going to go down in flames, but I wish it would pass because then when the tourists come into Missouri, the tax base is spread out across millions of more people than who are paying the taxes now.
Yeah.
It's not well written.
No.
It's not well explained. It is a failure of leadership in our state, unfortunately.
Oops.
But it's the truth. And and I'm about the truth, right?
Yeah, I know.
I'm going to predict that this is probably going to fail as well. I'm going to say the failure rate will be 52 against and 48 for.
Okay. I think it's going to be worse than that, but here's my hope. I have confidence in our legislature. See, there's a lot of people that during this thing that have lost all hope in our legislators, and that's not fair.
Right.
Because
we've got a lot of good people.
The perfect is the enemy of the good enough.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a lot of criticism on 5 and 4 from so-called conservative Republicans. I don't like what's happening in our state. I don't like what's happened in St. Charles County. But there is no perfect legislator or perfect legislation. Perfection died on the cross.
Correct.
And to expect that is unrealistic.
Okay,
we'll have you in on another show, and we'll talk about that because I do believe that's a problem with the Republican Party right now.
Absolutely.
But let's
move on.
Go on to
county executive.
We've got a really big race coming up.
Yes.
For St. Charles County, of course.
Yes, sir.
And it's our St. Charles County
county executive.
County executive, yeah. And my brain goes into
I know. That's why I just chime in.
This is huge for St. Charles County.
Yes,
not only it's where our county is going to head in the next for the next.
They are distinct.
This is about the future of St. Charles County. And can I make a prediction?
Yeah. You could start right.
Okay,
off.
I'm supportive of, and I'm praying that Bill Eigel wins this election. And the reason is it is about the future. It's not just about us. We're older. Probably have more money, more established.
Be careful. Be careful.
Be careful?
Yeah.
Why? Because we're older?
We're talking about the age stuff again.
We're mature. We're more mature. And so this is about St. Charles County for my kids.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
I have kids that live in St. Charles County. And I think Bill is his ideas or what St. Charles County needs. I'm fearful that if we remain with what we have, we're going to slide backwards.
Jane, what's your prediction?
My prediction is Bill Eigel's going to pull it out, not by a landslide, but enough that it's going to be statistically significant.
Yeah.
All right. Again, this is not who we're voting for, but what my predictions are. I think Steve Ellman's going to win it. I think he's going to win it by 38 to 40%. He'll probably take 38 to 40% of the vote. I think Bill Eigel will probably take 35 to 37% of the vote, and the rest will go to Jason.
Okay. I pray you're wrong, Richard.
Well, that's my prediction, and that's kind of what we're here for.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it, right?
I like all three candidates. I have a relationship with all three candidates.
I do too.
I think they've done a great job of distinguishing themselves from each other.
Yeah. And we'll wait until next Tuesday. Then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yes, the next race down from that is I guess would put it at the county election
authority.
Yep. And we have two candidates in that race. We have Jen Olson and we have Kurt Barr. So this isn't about either one of them. This is about our prediction. You want to go first? You want me to go first?
No, you go ahead first.
Okay. I think it's going to be Kurt Barr, probably 63, and then Jim will pick up the rest.
Okay. I'm just going to preface this with, think about this. The person that runs the elections is up for election. We know that the tabulators have put these machines out of proper certification for the last few years. Like I said, this does not predict who I'm voting for, but I do believe that Jen Olson has a really good chance.
So you're predicting Jen
Olson.
Okay.
I don't know that I have a prediction. I have a solution to a really bad problem in St. Charles County.
No, that's another show. That's another show.
Okay.
We got some other ones. We only got 3 minutes left, so let's. Are we going to stay neutral on that one?
I am.
That's fair.
Oh, that's not fair. That's not fair. Make her vote.
Yeah. So let's go on. Let's go on to our county collector. We just have both of them in.
Yep.
So, you guys want me to go first? You want to go first?
I'll go first on this one. I think an incumbent is pretty hard to beat.
Yeah.
So I'll go with
agree with
Michelle
that.
McBride.
I'm going to say Michelle McBride, probably 65-35.
Okay.
That's what is going to be my prediction.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Let's say
County council.
county councils. So we have, I think there's 2 or 3 contentious ones. You probably know better than I do, which is horrible. We got Annette Sieve versus Mike Elam.
Yep.
Sieve. Annette Sieve.
Judy Gambino against Terry Hollander, which is my district.
So let's start off with Annette Sieve versus
Annette Sieve versus Mike Elam.
Mike Elam. Sorry, I always call her Sieve. So
this is going to be a tough one. I'll roll with it's hard to beat an incumbent.
Yeah.
So I will say Mike Elam. Not going to pull it out by a landslide, but going to pull it out.
I'm going to say Annette. She has worked really hard and knocked on a lot of doors.
She's worked really hard. I'm going to call it Mike Elam, and I'm going to call it, I like throwing the numbers out there because I just like to see how close I get. I'm going to call Mike Elam probably 60-40 on that one.
Good idea. Yeah, I'm the one with the degree in accounting, but I don't throw the numbers out there like you do. Yeah, I know.
Okay, so the next one is Terry Hollander versus
Judy Gambino.
Judy Gambino.
Terry's probably going to take that one only because of name ID and because he's been in the county a long, long time, and he's an incumbent. And that's going to be hard to overcome.
Okay.
And I hope Judy understands when I say this. I think he's going to pull it out. Hollander.
Now this is interesting because I really think Judy might pull this one out.
That would be awesome.
I'm going to say 52-48. I think it's going to be closer than what he's got a lot of name rec, but
he's been there a lot.
I'll disagree with that name rec because when I was outdoor knocking,
nobody knew who he was.
I'm going to predict 52-48 in Judy's favor.
$5.
Okay.
How about lunch?
I like it.
I like it. We can't gamble for money here.
That's a heck of a lot more than $5.
We can't do that. So we got about a minute left. Is there anybody? I'm going to stay out of the rep races just because. Quick.
I just want to tell everybody to get out there and vote and don't forget to, and there's no excuse not to. After listening to this show, you should be well equipped with all the information that you need to get out there and make an informed decision. Thank you.
All right, Debbie.
Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord.
Amen.
And we need the Lord's help on this and throughout Missouri and especially in St. Charles County.
I'm just going to say this in closing. First, I appreciate our listeners. Second, this is the greatest country in the world that we can have these discussions and not go to the gulags for supporting somebody that has the power. Yeah. So, bless St. Charles County. Yeah. Bless the USA. Everybody go out and vote on August 4th.